LEONIE BRANDL is Public Affairs Manager at the German African Business Association in the Politics and Communications Department since March 2022. After studying international relations, she worked in strategic policy consulting before she supported a member of the German Bundestag as policy advisor and accompanied several humanitarian campaigns of civil society organizations. Private travels and internships took her to Uganda, Tanzania, Ghana, and South Africa, amongst others. Ladies and gentlemen, make welcome to GPAD 2022, LEONIE BRANDL.
Thank you. I didn't expect such a welcome, but yeah, my name is LEONIE BRANDL, so it's a bit Bavarian name. Yeah, but as it already said, I work for the German African Business Association. Actually, have a presentation that will support me. Perfect, wonderful. Okay, yeah. Thank you, everyone on the screen, in the room, excellencies. For giving me the opportunity to speak here and to present a bit what the German African Business Association, so Afrika-Verein, does and how and where we see potentials in on the economic cooperation between Germany and the African continent. Of course, knowing I don't have to explain that the African continent is very diverse, but I want to talk specifically, but trying to give examples of what project I am actually talking about. And before, somehow it will work, I'm pretty sure. Maybe you can just click forward. Okay. Yeah, perfect. Okay, thank you. So the Afrika-Verein is a non-profit organization, and we are currently having over 500 members. These are mostly from Germany, so you see them in the small print. I don't expect you to read all of them, but I will give you examples. They're mostly in Germany, but we also have European and African companies and institutions as members, and we represent around 85% of German business activities on the African continent, and we work, or our members work, across all sectors, from small startups producing off-grid or solar panels up to DAX-listed companies producing cars, for example, or exporting energy plants. And if you go to the next slide, we support our members by establishing contacts on the African continent, finding business partners. We support our members by matchmaking and information exchange through events, market surveys, business innovation trips. And we also want to create awareness in Germany for economic opportunities on the African continent, to shift the narrative from a continent of crisis to actually a continent of opportunities. And we do that by active media work, social media, political dialogue. Yeah, and I am on the next page. I will give you a short introduction on actually the economic side of what I'm talking here, because when we take a closer look at the statistics concerning trade and investment of German companies on the African continent, we can see, indicated by the yellow, positive trend. So actually, over the last decades, we have seen a remarkable growth in foreign direct investment and also trade activities between Germany and African companies. And that is, of course, also an indicator for growing interest in doing business in Africa and with Africa, and also of an increased attractiveness of many African countries. However, indicated in the yellow box, that is actually also where we have to still continue to work, because what we see is the total share, or like the total amount of trade and investment increased, but the percentage or the share has remained the same over the last decades. It has always been 1% of German business activities in the world, only 1% in Africa. And considering how big Africa is, how many people there are, how many countries. This is, of course, let's say, not good. It indicates that there is still a lot of potential, and especially now with Zeitenwende, or how you titled it, threatened global order or changing economic global order, we see that this development actually is a bit disadvantageous, or at least to say problematic. And that's why I want to talk about on the next slide about how this, how to say it in business terms, how now with what we're facing since the pandemic, and also now with the war in Ukraine and energy crisis, supply chain crisis, that actually Africa has a huge location advantage, that European, German actors, but also, like, of course, in the inner African companies can leverage on. And I want to highlight 3 different perspectives that I'm pretty sure later in the discussion you will also deepen and hear more about, and also have more diverse perspectives on it, since I'm only representing the German business side. And so the first point is that for the longest time, Russia was the #1 stop for cheap energy, and China for cheap products, and with the effect of having strong dependencies for the German economy. And by focusing on opportunities on the African continent, there can be several goals achieved at the same time. First of all, of course, reducing dependencies, not only resource dependencies, but also other dependencies of supply chains from Russia and China, but also building stronger partnerships with African actors, business counterparts, governments, and even civil society. There are a few examples of this growing trend. Maybe you've heard of the green hydrogen project in Namibia, which could potentially create more than 15,000 local jobs during construction, 3,000 then during the producing green hydrogen. And it is the Namibian government awarded it to a consortium called Hyphen, where also Enertruck, a German company, is part of. So we can already see that German companies are working on, first of all, creating renewable or getting renewable energy, but also making it usable on the African continent for regional, but also for export markets. And there we come to the second point, that by diversifying not only the energy supply, but also whole value chains, the resilience in economies in the times of crisis is improved. This is general, but also, of course, for German and African economies. And this diversification of value chains requires also shifts in production side and also sales markets. And I'm pretty sure you know about, like, for example, our member Volkswagen is successfully manufacturing automotives in South Africa, with 1/4 of the units, or so cars, sold in the Southern African market itself. So actually value creation, production in Africa for African markets and consumers, and also exporting goods to the world market. But we also see small and medium companies are successfully investing in Africa, especially in Northern Africa. For example, I don't expect you to know it, but we have a member, it's called Stahlschmidt, and it's building a plant in Morocco, actually producing a cable system for automotives and exporting them worldwide. So we see a shift from just like getting the raw materials, what we heard in the earlier session, to also thinking more about actually building value chains and building also pushing forward industrialization on the continent in specific countries that are very attractive for foreign businesses to invest, and therefore like creating value, creating sustainable jobs, jobs, and pushing industrialization forward. And there also comes the third point. What we have seen now is that German companies, we need a lot of energy for our industry, and now we're thinking of where to import. But what if we would shift the production side to where the energy is produced, to where renewable energy can be produced, which makes Africa a prime destination, and which could, like, actually this energy crisis could trigger, or we hope it will trigger, a shift from moving production from importing countries like Germany actually to producing countries, hopefully in Africa. And with these three inputs in the discussion, I want to get over to the next slide. Mentioning that, of course, what I presented, we're not doing this on our own. Afrika Verein is not some, I don't know, huge company, but we are working with strong partnerships, strong partners. You see in yellow all the countries where we have partnerships with chambers of commerce, investment agencies, and other local or institutions with whom we work and who make our work successful. And so on the next slide, you see our contact details. We are a business association located in Berlin and Hamburg. We are having a lot of events, trying to connect also diaspora, young entrepreneurs, the embassies, African embassies, business partners, German politics, everyone together to actually work on this vision to create value and to strengthen the German-African business cooperation. And with this, I want to end my short presentation. I want to hand over to the moderator, but I will be also around and open for questions later. And I will be excited for what's going to be in the panel discussion if I see some of the points echoed, or if I learn something new that I will bring to my employer. Thank you very much.